younger. 哇，看上去好年轻了啊，更年轻了啊 which means, wow, you look younger than before. It's another way of greeting someone, filling the gap, and building up a kind of relationship again after an interval, after a period of time. But be careful again. Remember, we have talked again and again and stressed again and again, in China, the age, the class, the hierarchy are very important in determining the way we talk to each other and the way we treat each other. So better be careful or avoid cracking any jokes with people who are older than you or with people who are more important in position than you. But remember, in China, it's a very class-conscious, hierarchy-conscious group. And when you see your boss, or if you meet someone who is higher in position in the company, and you better acknowledge it in a more elaborate way. How to elaborate your greeting here? I think it's better for you to say 早 plus the title of the person and also his last name. Like 早 Zhou Xiaozhang, which means hello, morning president so-and-so. So that is the way to show your discreet respect to people who are senior in position or older than you.
In the business world, Chinese is slightly stiffer dealing with Westerners than Westerners are dealing with each other. Well, the business and official world is all still very hierarchical in China. People have, there's a boss and there's someone who reports to the boss and so on. It's very, very vertical organisation. And that's reflected in the way that they'll greet people. They will be courteous, of course, always to everybody. But you can quite, if you're tuned, you can quite clearly see who it is they're treating with real respect and other people they're just treating in simple politeness.
Another thing is about handshake. The handshaking always goes with some greetings in a formal situation. You say 你好, you say 您好, depends on how formal it is. So 您好 also means hello, but to people in a formal way, to people either older or to people that you do not know or to people you want to show the extra respect. But when you know each other very well, and if you are just colleagues, and then you can be informal, say 你好, another form of hello.
It's closer, I think, than 你好. It is a closer relationship, is that right?
Yeah, I'm sure 你好 is much informal, much more informal, and 您好 is a little bit formal. And at the same time, there might be some other implications here, I guess, right, Alan? If I don't know a person, I will start with 您好.
您好, yes, I think, yes.
But if I'm older, what should I use to a young person? Do I still say 您好? A quiz here.
I think things are very flexible nowadays.
It's very flexible, exactly.
Yeah, and certainly as a foreigner, they're so pleased that you're making the effort to say either in Chinese. And we pronounce them not necessarily very accurately anyway, so they probably don't know which you're saying.
It's true. But however, I think even if you do not say it very accurately in pronunciation, so long as you make the effort saying 你好 to a Chinese person, they really feel very positive about it. I think it really has a very good impact. Think, oh, this guy is making some effort in speaking my language. There aren't many taboos in greeting, but two at least you should remember. First, when you greet people, you do not physically greet them. In China, please remember, physically you should be very, very discreet. Do not use any physical greeting. No hugging, no kissing. Doesn't matter how innocent it means to you in your country, but in China, don't do it. If you really want to do the greeting with the handshake, remember the Chinese handshake is much lighter. So don't feel if you have being given a very light handshake, it means the Chinese people are now sincere. It means the Chinese people are very evasive. No, a gentle handshake should not be interpreted when you get it in China as a sign of weakness. China, if you give too harsh or too strong a handshake, it may be viewed negatively. You may be viewed as someone who is too aggressive, or maybe someone who is lack of modesty. You see, culture is different. Even a handshake can be very different when you do the greeting.
I very easily get to a point where you can get a very active and warm sort of handshake with a Chinese person at the end of a meeting. And I'm finding it very common for Chinese businessmen to sort of to shake your hand and then hold your wrist like this.
The both hands. That's true.
As a gesture of warmth, I think that's something to be ready for. And
extra warmth, the extra kind of attachment here.
I think that happens a lot. On the other hand, I think that with Chinese women, particularly, and of course in China you meet a lot of women in business situations because there's great equality. They will give a very, what is by Western standards, a very limp, sort of delicate response to your handshake, and you must be ready for that. So whereas in the West, a woman would, if she shakes hands, would shake hands almost as firmly as a man.
But I find some Chinese men also shake hands like
very
that.
gentle.
Quite limp.
And also, it's really not kind of all the way deep.
It's just
very
holding the
gentle.
edge.
I just take it they don't really feel comfortable with it, perhaps.
I think it's really the way. I think it's really very goes all the way into the culture. People here really value modesty. At least they really want to show to be modest. So if it's a confident handshake, they feel you are really having too much power outwardly expressed. So by a gentler handshake, it really shows the person is modest. Not wanting to project his power, his or her own power in this relationship.
And I find Chinese to be warm, emotional, kind, friendly people.
I think they are very
without
sincere.
exception.
Now it's time for me to say goodbye to you and have a good time. See you again. Bye-bye. Hello. Good to have you back with me again today on the Chinese Business Cultural Series. And today, if you look at what I've got here in front of me, you may guess the topic. We are going to talk about eating together and socializing in China. Some of you may already know there are so many Chinese restaurants everywhere all over the world. And here in China, eating together is really one of the most important and effective way you socialize with each other in business.
Just consider that, most Chinese people treat dining as a very serious matter. Dining is not just pure entertainment. It's part of a relationship building thing. And so if you treat it as such, then, you can understand it a little bit more. In China, having a meal, especially in a business setting, is a fairly formal relationship building, getting to know your partner thing. So if you treat it as such, then there is actually you get more used to it.
And it's part of the work. It's part of the business practice too, rather than just a social event. Okay, I think this is a great reminder for people who are not used to this part of the culture here in China, taking every meal as seriously as a negotiation.
As a negotiation and as a relationship.
And in China, sitting when dining with your host or with the Chinese people can be as simple as you just stand there and wait until you are instructed to take the seat that might be already appointed for you. And also, do not start eating until the host indicates that the meal is here and let us eat. And again, be prepared. That doesn't matter is a formal or informal meal together. The host is very often starting the meal with a simple welcome remarks or like a toast.
Where you place the key guest is very important. For example, if you are the host, you should have the key guest sitting right next to you. And in terms of order of priority, organizing it, that appears to be a very important thing because face is very important in China. And the other thing would be that in terms of the food, right? The types of food depends on the occasion is also very important. And what I also find is that in terms of more proactive in helping your guests in serving the food, which is a little bit different from.
When we eat with Chinese people, another few points I think we cannot forget. Otherwise, you may really feel very frustrated. First of all, about drinking. So drinking is really the way a lot of people here in China use to show friendship or to show that the trust between each other. So if you are offered a drink, if you happen not to be a very heavy drinker, try to find some excuses rather than refuse the drink together flatly and directly. Because refusing the drink or the drink offered to you may be taken as a sign of indifference to the person or as a sign of unwillingness to build up a further relationship with people there. So try to drink a little bit or use the doctor's advice as an excuse.
If you want to do business here, my suggestions would be that have the Chinese liquor, on the table. In front of me would be a glass of Maotai and a glass of red wine. Let's say when the toast starts, right, I would drink a sip or maybe half a glass, right? And then when it go to the second and third toasting, I would say, well, my capacity is less, and I like red wine more, so I switch to red wine.
Okay, so are they flexible with that?
But if you politely switch to red wine, usually it's okay. It's good to bring one or two of your Chinese manager along and say, all right, have a drink with you.
In China, people eat quite differently from the way we eat in the Western world. People tend to eat in a very much a communal way, by which I mean there may be a lot of common dishes which are ordered and placed in the middle, and people are given each individually a bowl for the rice. The host and the people who accompany you very often help, even with their own chopsticks sometimes, to pick or to get some of the dishes onto your plate, even without your permission or without asking if you like it or not. So this is the way Chinese people really do to show the hospitality, to show friendship, and to show the willingness to share and to be treating each other as family members. So if you really cannot take certain dishes here, I strongly advise you to make it clear at the beginning of the meal, saying, oh, I have a few food restrictions here. For example, I do not eat fish or I do not eat pork, or just give the doctor's advice as an excuse, saying, I can only take vegetables today. So whatever you do, try to warn your host what you do not eat at the beginning. But if the food is already put onto your plate, try to be polite by nodding your head, saying thank you. You can just leave the things you do not eat on your individual rice bowl without really making it known to other people that you cannot take certain dishes. There are a few other things I want to remind us when we eat together with the Chinese people is the chopsticks. good luck. It's not as easy as using fork and knife. However, if you do have a bit of time, I advise that you practice using them before you come to China. If you really are not skillful enough to use it to eat and avoid starving, better ask before the meal is ready, saying that I hope they have some knife and fork for me because I'm not skillful. So make it known at the beginning of the meal. Otherwise, chopsticks are automatically given to you instead of the knives and forks. With the use of the chopsticks, never ever in China, this is a taboo, never ever in China using the chopsticks and stick it in the rice bowl. And that is a taboo. The reason is the chopsticks stuck into the rice bowl may remind people of the tomb, the Chinese tomb. So do not do that. When we eat rice or even soup, in China, the soup very often comes into this shape of bowl. And people normally drink soup by lifting it up, either use chopsticks to get the ingredient this way, or they just drink it with a bowl of this shape and they normally lift the bowl up. The same gesture also applies to eating rice. So if it is their individual rice bowl, very often you see people lift this rice when they eat with the chopsticks. Just do the same accordingly. As we always say, do as Romans do. So at dining table, just follow the suit. Whoever sits around you and just pick up whatever they do, and you won't be really wrong in any aspect. Good luck with your Chinese food and good luck with your socializing in China, and I hope you do enjoy it. Thank you and bye-bye. Hello, welcome back again. And now we are going to continue with our Chinese business culture series. And today the topic will be drinking etiquette in China. Drinking together is a very popular activity people do together in order to strengthen each other's relationship. Be prepared for the culture and also the strategies you need to take when you come to China. And people will invite you a lot for drinking together. However, in China, drinking is very often takes place when people eat together, especially during banquets or dining time. For example, if you are the host, you are the person who is supposed to stand up and make a toast to the guest and to everybody sitting around first. As a guest, especially the main guest, the person in charge of the group of the guests should return a toast afterwards. And this toast very often goes with a speech making. So you normally make a welcoming speech as a host and as a speech of appreciation as a guest. So the speech is very often made before the meal properly starts. So during the meal, people also toast each other now and then. It can happen at any time during the mealtime. When we are talking about toasting, there are a few cultural tips we really need to remember. For example, when you want to make a toast, you need to stand up, hold the wine glass or the liquor glass, and at the same time, you should really try to say something like 干杯. That is the most popular and commonly used expression when you toast. I wanted to show this. When you are doing this 干杯 together, kind of the cup to cup or glass to glass, and you are supposed to try to hit the lower part of the other glass. This is a sign of modesty that shows your respect to the other person by doing that. There is another way you can do 干杯. if you are toasting or ganbei to another person across the table or to everybody, in that situation, it's not easy to do this glass-to-glass thing with everybody. What can we do? The modern practice now is you just lightly hit the glass on the table surface like this. Ganbei, while saying ganbei, you can do this as another way of toasting to each other. In China, I think you are allowed and also it's acceptable to toast across the table or even across the other person. This is one thing.